All right, final product. This is the final garage setup. Once I pull the wood out and organize it, I'll get those two pads of insulation reattached. But as of right now, finally have mine and my wife's stuff organized. This is Victoria's rack for her gardening, canning, anything to do with the yard in general. If it goes in the dirt and it grows, it's going to be over here. Except for that goes with bicycles. Then we start over on my side, the fluids locker, still need a lock, pressure washer, lift, load leveler, ignore the grill. But a little bit of under top storage for the dust vac, the little big fuel engine block, get under there, get around to that one day. And finally got this little shelf cleared out. I'll figure out a designated purpose for that soon, but more than likely it would come to clearing off this top up here. But power tools are still up here, chargers over there, so on and so forth. The two tools on casters, my hardware tower and my table saw back there, they can go right where they're at. Finally have a place for my floor jack that doesn't involve the death of my toes every time I kick it. Jack stands, ramps, and then this box will get emptied soon enough because right now that's where all my extension cords are. Figuring some carabiners and some Velcro strap, and they can all basically hang up just like this guy right here. Up here, a little bit of tool storage on some of the pressure washer components. Pretty certain I'm going to try to go with like 1/4-inch plywood and make a flat surface that attaches here on top of the wire racks that came with these. That way, components don't fall below, and it might add a touch more rigidity as I do that. Third rack up here is a few miscellaneous items, military gear, and miscellaneous parts for the Chevelle, my cutaway valve cover that will allow me to adjust rockers, and a couple of additional tool boxes and tools over there. It's just for chip brakes, and some additional components up there. The underside storage is, more gear for the military, 1 tough box, 2 tough box. But I got a good little spot over here, ladder, paint shield. And then this toolbox right here is perfect, right where it's at. Because I got tools right next to it, but it doesn't have to move, and the lid opens up without obstruction. Still need to get a final organization up here, but right now it's doing just fine. And the few new Milwaukee tools, I'm balling. Finally bought something Milwaukee. The few Milwaukee tools almost blend in here from a distance, but once I get a better setup arranged and this is all organized a little bit better, then I will have a better layout for the Milwaukee tools to be in here. Condensed down my gardening shelf. A lot of these were near double the space they are right now, and just took up most of this wall right here. Probably see where it ended, just about where that line was. Actually, it's over here. So yeah, wasting space, not necessary. And then up here, got rid of the A-framed shelf, which was the first thing I've ever built for my family. Just had this Ryobi drill and impact. Bought the little kit at Home Depot, a little bit of lumber, brought it home, some screws, a little bit of wood glue, and oh yeah, and I think I had a jigsaw with me. I didn't. Oh, yeah, I had the handheld circular saw. Those are the two tools that I bought. I didn't have anything else to knock this out because this was very early on. I think I was a PV2. Oh, we had no money, nothing. We spared a little bit because it was cheaper to build our stuff out of lumber than it was to buy. But it's strong, sturdy, it's gone though, because we no longer had a use for it. It was more in the way than it was helping. But put it out the curb, somebody already picked it up. All right, watched them on video, they picked it up, and I was happy to see that it looked like a family that was picking it up to use. So maybe it will continue to get use. But the new setup up here, Victoria still has her bench. You can come out, sit up here, and just chill and talk while I'm working. Give her a view of the garage. And my in-laws, Dudley and Cynthia, Richard Dudley, they bought us the ice chest as a present. And honestly speaking, this is a lifesaver because we can store so much more food here. And in a home this size with no storage, like I kid you not, it feels like this garage is 2/3 of the house. It's only 1,300 square feet here, but that is a lifesaver. And again, it's the reason why this deck was built, because we needed storage in this home. So underneath it was just about everything we could imagine. Paint was under the steps. You had wood. You had children's toys. You had the lawnmower. You had everything you can imagine underneath here. Now it's being thinned down more and more and more. And for the most part, it's a jumbled mess because I've been throwing stuff around recently. But here in a day or so, I'm going to tear it all out, reorganize it, take stock of what I have, and use it in any project I can imagine. But for the most part, it's only wood underneath there. And even with that, no termites. 0 termites. Had an inspection recently, 0 termites. But this is the new setup right now. New to me, at least. 5 years ago, we were living with our in-laws. Really had almost nothing to our name. 6 years ago, we did have nothing to our name. This thing was stolen, and now here we are. We were living paycheck to paycheck. I was working 2 full-time jobs, and now we had nothing going for us and didn't feel like there was a way out. And 5 years later, first home under our name. We've got our finances under control. Victoria does not have to work for the bills to be paid and for food to be on the table, even excess food to be in the freezer, and just some frivolous fun to be had within reason. And still even a little spare cash for her to push for me to keep this guy on the road. That way I can, continue being who I am. So, yeah. There's a lot of backstory, but all I gotta say is, for all the downsides of being in the military, we have a lot to be thankful for. And I'm not going to go into all the detail. To everybody who knows me in person, y'all know the details, but for everybody who's helped me along the way, I can't thank you enough. It still almost puts me in tears how much people have helped us along the way in our lives. But it is also nice to no longer have to depend on everybody. It's nice to know that those who are helping us now these days are only just helping because they want to help us out of the kindness of their hearts, not because we're literally in need. And we have the chance to turn around and help them back whenever they do, and also to help anybody else who finds themselves in a time of need. Because if I've learned anything, God gives you people around in your life that give you a helping hand. You should not be the kind of person who snubs that helping hand when that has to reach out for you as well. But that's enough preaching for me. I love this garage. So hopefully this wall will start being covered in more and more old signs. Obviously, Some of these aren't very old. That stop sign definitely is. I know that Super Bee sign really isn't, and the Chevrolet sign really isn't. But this Mustang sign here, the Ford Mustang sign, is actually old enough to have a decent amount of rust. It's, I'd have to say maybe 10, 15 years old at most. My mother-in-law gave that to me. She figured it'd be fun and cute, and I love it. I keep it around. My mother brought this to me for Christmas last year, saying that my Uncle Charlie had found it and wanted to give it to me as a gift. It does function. Has a strobing section also. It'll go OPEN, OPEN. Turn it on. It all works. The only downside is the buttons on the back side. Makes it kind of difficult to work with. Really wish it was down on the switch. I'll figure something out. Got upcoming plans. Got quotes from an electrician for two 240 volt outlets and one dedicated 120 volt outlet, because the breaker to this garage is pretty weak. It may look like I have a lot of stuff plugged in, but I only have that deep freeze, that sign which is turned off, and that power strip right there. This power strip is drawing almost nothing. You've got the 2 battery packs for these batteries right here, and only one of them's in use. As a matter of fact, I think, let me check this. Okay, now none of them are in use. 99% of the time, these aren't even in use. They're full of charge, so now nothing's in use. Besides the mild LED amperage draw right there, which has got to be like, what, 1 watt a day, or 1 watt or 1 amp. The little charger box right there, ignore that, and that charger box, ignore that, because they're not plugged into anything. But this thing has almost no amperage draw on it, and it would still, with this being the only thing plugged in, haven't unplugged that sign, haven't unplugged that deep freeze, that chest freezer over there, I'd plug in that table saw, turn it on, and it would immediately trip the breaker as soon as you flick that power switch on. Then I'd unplug the power strip, reset the breaker, make certain the table saw was plugged in, everything was correct, nothing was binding anything, and I'd turn it on, it still tripped the breaker instantaneously. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There was no getting around it. I tried it over 10 times in a row with my father-in-law here, and he witnessed it as well. So the electricians that were here quoted doing those 240 volt outlets, a 110 dedicated over here on its own breaker, just strictly so I could use my table saw or any, I guess you could say, heavier duty corded power tools. And also having a 4-plug outlet in the kitchen on the outside of this wall, because that kitchen island doesn't have an outlet, which is frustrating. All that, and a massive surge protector that was supposed to go underneath here. And they said it was basically going to be about yay large, right? It's now standard code in this area and probably code in other parts of the country. But they were going to install that surge protector, the 240 plugs, the 120 plug, the 4-plug 120 outlets in the kitchen. And if they were going to do all that for like $2,000. Or maybe 2,100, something like that. Either way, they were going to do all that installation, and I am waiting just a little bit longer because I got to figure out where the fuck I'm going to put an air compressor. I guess I'm going to have to find a place to put this table saw soon, which I may just take it off its stand, slip it under here, and my hardware tower can just roll around. I mean, that's why it's on casters. Still love this thing. No blueprints. Just free design. Bought a box, cheap box, took a measurement, made it happen, and I love it. My drill bit holder is just a piece of scrap wood, a cast off from something else, and it just drilled some holes and threw the bits in there, and they fit just fine. And then I have no idea why I don't want to get rid of it, but it works perfect. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, I'm thinking I'll put my stand-up air compressor over here, and I'm hoping to get like an 80-gallon, be able to put it right here, and I want to put it on a stand with a drip bucket underneath it. That way, when it's not in regular use, I can have a spout underneath it, turn it off with a switch, and open up the drain valve underneath it and let it literally drain any moisture out of the main chamber into the drip pan below it. And I could just slide out the drip bucket, dump it out, slip it back, and got the idea from a YouTube channel called Shop Nation, and give that channel a look. He's got some really, really good, really, really awesome garage cabinets and shelves and workbenches he uses, and posts all the blueprints and stuff online to be used. I forget exactly which outlet he uses. I think it's like Etsy or something like that. Either way, give it a look, give it a shout out. Just saying, love his work, love what he does. Really good channel, really upbeat. But with that, I was hoping to run some hardline plumbing for the air spout. Just a couple of outlets. One here, one down that way, and then run another one around this wall, and can come out over here behind the toolbox, between the toolbox and the tools over there, and just make life a lot easier when working on this guy here. Anything else I can think of in the future? Like, I know I need welders. All right, I know I need to get a hold of a decent, at least a MIG welder. I would like to get a plasma cutter, but I ain't made of money. And everything you see going on here is just very careful planning and budgeting. Been looking at Vulcan from Harbor Freight. They seem to be doing decent, but I can't seem to find a good 3-in-1 welder, MIG, TIG, and stick. Because I would really like to get like a Miller 3-in-1 and a decent plasma cutter, and that would pretty much open up a world of opportunities. So I can repair the trunk here, repair the floor pans here, and I don't expect to be doing a perfect professional job when I do this. I know I'm a full rank amateur here, but with enough time, with enough patience, enough triple, quadruple, and sextuple measuring, I should be able to keep the poor craftsmanship to a minimum. It'd be nice to get around to practicing a little bit of metal forming, and sheet metal forming, so I can start replacing little sections like this, maybe even trying to do modifications. Like, I would really love to flush this windshield, the rear windshield here, and I would love to be able to flush the windows on the side over here, the quarter windows. Just personally feel like it doesn't fit the car to have them sunk in so much. I love the shape. I love the fact that it follows the body line so much. I know everybody wants the Opora style like this on all the other third generation Malibus and Monte Carlo because it was for the higher trim cars. I get it. The base models had this style window, but personally speaking, I like this one better. The visibility is much better too. And I think underneath the trim, they should all have this basic design anyways, so it'd be easy to convert. I've also seen people cover this up completely, flush it out with sheet metal, and it doesn't look half bad, but the only reason why I'm not doing that is because visibility and drivability. But if I can get the sheet metal repaired, I've got an order placed on Summit Racing for transcooler, new axles. I got Moser axles on the way. I got a 373 rear gears from Richmond, Eaton True Track posi. Hey babe. Okay, and we're back to our regularly scheduled program. But, yeah, just proper measurement, time, patience, and the tools to do the job. And I can start making some headway here. But in the meantime, like I was saying, I have the Moser axles, the Richmond 373s, the Eaton True Track, all these for the 8.5 10 bolt that's in the car. I'm not going to 12 bolt. I'm not going to a 9-inch right now. I just don't have the funds for that. Eventually, maybe, but not right now. It's a billet trick flow diff cover because I'm just trying to keep, warpage down. And the rebuild kit, the seals and the bearings and everything. All that with the transcooler comes out to about $1,580 maybe before tax and sales, tax and shipping. I really need to get the torque converter, which is about $500. Ouch. But I have spoken English. I spoke with a few of the professionals in the field, and they have recommended torque converter for me based on my carburetor, my intake, my camshaft, the rear gears that are going in here, because I'm preparing for that specifically. The tire size, the intended driving for this car. Because as soon as that's done, this guy will be... It may not look good, but she drives really well and will drive like a complete unit at that point because the transmission is strong. The drive shaft is brand new. The rear end will be completely brand new, overhauled all the way through, everything new. It's got a new exhaust system. It's got a new fuel system and brand new everything. The only thing it doesn't have is a new appearance. Let's scratch that. The control arms, front and rear, I can replace, and I can go with a true brake kit, not StopTech rotors. But if I do that, rebuild this engine properly, try to keep it at 10 and a half to 1. Might switch it out with a roller cam just because I'm finding a lot of people recently have bought flat tappets, even from good names like Comp Cams. I have a Comp Cam 274 Extreme Energy 274 flat tappet. It's a hydraulic flat tappet. It's a decent cam, but there's a lot of people out there who are having the flat tappet cams with the proper break-in, with the proper break-in minerals and fluids and everything in the oil, and it goes flat prematurely. So I don't know what that is, and it's not really for me to solve. But in the long run, I'm thinking a hydraulic roller would settle that. A fair bottom end, I probably can't afford forged everything, so it'll probably still be a cast crank, but I can probably afford forged rods and forged pistons at Forged Rods Hyper Eutectic pistons. Get it about 10 to 1. Decent, a good gap on the rings, try to do it right and proper. Switch out the intake for a RPM air gap. Go from this Edelbrock, it's a Holley 600 carburetor. It's a tiny little carburetor for this motor. But I was looking at going to a Quick Fuel 750. Those few things, on a proper spacer between the carb and the intake. And it should wake up. It should wake up a lot. And I know these headers are tiny, so I think they're 1 5/8. They're tiny little headers for this thing. A decent set, like 1 3/4. An 1 3/4 headers that are ceramic coated will probably flow better, and this thing will pretty well be dialed in mechanically at that point. I've been considering suspension options, QA1 or oh man, who are they? It's not RideTech. This, not Speedcore. Man, I'll get back to y'all on that. But I've seen QA1 makes a suspension system for this vehicle. There's a few other component companies out there that do, but they're, not necessarily the most popular brand names or anything like that. I just come across them because, follow a few people and they will show you a few things. But I think the dream setup would be to keep these wheels, or at least replace them with new ones that might be a little wider. I'd like to find Wilwood sells a brake and rotor kit. It's a 2-piece for this that will fit under this wheel with a 6-piston caliper in the front, a 4-piston in the rear that will still fit under these. Mickey Thompson makes a street tire for this car that's a 295. These are currently 275s. So that get me that aggressive width that I love so much on these. Personally speaking, I just feel like they could be a bit more. There we go. If I go with that, I think that would complete it. I still need to put a quick ratio box in the front and replace the rag joint, but everything else is new. Might let it look like this for a while, go autocross it and enjoy it. Obviously recover the seat with the repaired floorboards. I'll try to put in, in sound deadening insulation and carpet. Try to make it a little bit more, livable when you drive it. But we still have the cracked dash. I'll probably still have the paint. The weather stripping would get replaced for, comfort and lack of water flooding inside. But eventually. But that's about everything I could talk about right now. It's all happening. It's slow but steady, but it's all happening. And I couldn't, just a year ago or 2 years ago or anything, I couldn't imagine having any of this going on right now. And here it is. Got all this going on. Got college going on. I'm working towards that degree. Got the 3rd child on the way. Yay. Oh, more mouths. 3 boys. How did that happen? And yeah, all of it. Even got LASIK done. Still see a little bit of bloodshot around my eyes, but I don't need glasses anymore. 2015 vision. Thank you, Army. Went from 2400 to 2015. But that pretty much wraps it up. I'm going to see if I can't get this video uploaded on just go and enjoy my time. Still got 2 more weeks of leave and a lot more projects to do. The rest of it's going to be around the house in the front yard and the backyard. All right.